Hello, this is English in Minutes. I'm Olivia.
And I'm Rob. Welcome back.
I want to start today with something a little personal. For a long time, I genuinely believed that resting was the same as wasting time. Like, if I wasn't doing something, producing something, moving towards something, I was falling behind. And that feeling followed me everywhere, even on weekends, even on vacation.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. There was this one Sunday afternoon. I remember it clearly. I was sitting on my couch with nowhere to be, nothing urgent to finish. And instead of just being there, I felt this low, uncomfortable guilt, like I was doing something wrong by doing nothing.
That's such a real feeling. And I think a lot of people listening right now have felt the same way.
So today, we're going to talk about something that might actually change the way you think about your time and your energy. The topic is why rest is more productive than hustle.
And before we jump in, a quick note for our English learners. We will be teaching vocabulary today, but we're saving it for the end of the episode, so stay with us all the way through. You're gonna want to hear those words.
Also, there is a free PDF in the description below. It includes the full script, quizzes, and vocabulary exercises. So download that, practice with it, and keep it for review.
Okay, so Rob, let me ask you something to get us started. When was the last time you did absolutely nothing and didn't feel guilty about it?
Honestly, I'm still working on that one. I've gotten better, but the guilt is slow to leave. You?
Same. I think it's something a lot of us have to unlearn, and that's actually the heart of today's conversation.
Before we get into the discussion, we have a question for you, our listener, and we'll come back to the answer a little later in the episode, so listen carefully.
Here's the question. According to research on rest and productivity, which of the following is true? A. Working longer hours always leads to better results. B. The brain continues to work creatively during rest and sleep. C. Taking breaks makes you less focused and more distracted. D. Rest is only useful when you are physically tired.
Think about it. Which one do you think is correct? A, B, C, or D? Hold on to your answer. We'll come back to it later.
All right, so let's talk about hustle culture, because I think this is where it all starts for a lot of people.
Right, and hustle culture is this idea, this very loud, very popular idea, that the more you work, the more you sacrifice, the more you grind, the more successful you'll be. It's everywhere, on social media, in podcasts, in books.
And there's something almost addictive about it, isn't there? Like when you're busy, you feel important. You feel like you're moving. You feel like you're doing the right thing.
Yeah, busy can feel like progress even when it isn't. That's the tricky part.
I think about this word productive. We use it to mean something like efficient, useful, creating real results. But hustle culture kind of hijacked the word. Being busy started to look like being productive, and those are not the same thing.
They're really not. I had a period in my life, maybe 3 or 4 years ago, where I was working 10, sometimes 12 hours a day. I was answering emails at midnight. I thought I was being disciplined. I thought I was building something.
And were you?
Not really. I was exhausted. My decisions were getting worse. I kept making small mistakes. And I wasn't enjoying anything. Not the work, not the time off, nothing. Because even when I wasn't working, I was thinking about work.
That sounds like burnout, or at least the early stages of it.
Looking back, yes, definitely. But at the time, I thought if I just pushed a little more, it would get better. That if I could just make it through this week, this month, this project, then I could rest.
And then I can rest is one of the most dangerous sentences we tell ourselves.
It really is. Because then never comes. There's always another thing.
I think the pressure comes from a few different places. Some of it is cultural. Some of it is social media. When you see people constantly posting about their 5 a.m. routines and their 27 side projects, it's easy to feel like you're not doing enough.
And then some of it is more personal. A lot of us grew up in environments where your value was tied to your output. Like you were good if you were productive, if you were hardworking, if you were useful. And resting felt like you were being lazy.
Which is such a heavy thing to carry, the idea that your worth is connected to what you produce.
Yeah. And it takes real work to separate those two things, your worth and your output. They are not the same.
They really aren't. Okay, so let's talk about what actually happens to your brain when you rest, because this is where it gets interesting.
Yes, and this is where science really supports the case for rest.
So there's something called the default mode network in the brain, and this is what activates when you're not focused on a specific task, when you're daydreaming, when you're taking a walk, when you're resting.
And for a long time, scientists thought this was just kind of the brain doing nothing, idling, like a car engine when you're stopped at a light.
But research showed something really surprising. The default mode network is actually deeply active. It's processing memories, it's making connections between ideas, it's solving problems you didn't even know you were working on.
So the brain doesn't stop working when you rest. It works differently.
Exactly. And some of the most important work your brain does, it does when you're not consciously directing it. Have you ever had the experience of trying to remember something and you just couldn't? And then later, when you stopped trying, it just came to you?
All the time. I'll be in the shower and suddenly I know the answer to something I was struggling with for hours at my desk.
That's the resting brain working for you. That's not a coincidence. That's neuroscience.
And there's also the memory consolidation piece. When you sleep, your brain is organizing and storing the things you learned during the day. So if you're studying or learning something new and you skip sleep to study more, you're actually working against yourself.
You're not saving time, you're losing it.
Right. The information doesn't stick as well. Your recall is worse. You'd have been better off sleeping.
This applies to so much more than just studying, too. Any kind of creative or strategic work, the quality of your thinking is directly connected to how well rested you are.
I noticed this so clearly after I started protecting my sleep and taking real breaks. Not just sitting at my desk and opening social media, which is not a real break.
Right, scrolling is not resting.
Not even close. But when I took actual breaks, walked outside, sat quietly, did something I genuinely enjoyed, my work improved. It wasn't just that I felt better, the quality of the work itself was different.
And this is where people get confused. They think rest is what you earn after good work, but actually, rest is what makes good work possible.
That's a complete shift in how we think about it.
And athletes actually understand this really well. Professional athletes do not train at full intensity every single day. They have rest days built into their schedule. They know that muscle grows during the recovery, not during the workout itself.
The workout creates the stress. The rest is where the adaptation happens.
And the same is true for cognitive work, for creative work, for emotional work. The intensity is important, but without recovery, you're just breaking yourself down without rebuilding.
Can we talk about what real rest actually looks like? Because I think people hear rest more and they're not sure what that even means in practice.
Yes, because it's different for different people. And I think this is important to say. Rest isn't one thing. It's not just sleep, although sleep is critical. It's also quiet time, time without stimulation, time where you're not consuming, not producing, not performing.
Nature is really powerful for this. Even a short walk outside can lower cortisol levels, which is the stress hormone. Your heart rate slows, your nervous system shifts out of fight or flight mode.
And things like reading, not reading for information, just for pleasure. Cooking something slowly, drawing, listening to music without multitasking. These things give the busy, analytical part of your mind a chance to quiet down.
There's also something called social rest, which is spending time with people who don't require anything from you, people who just feel easy to be around.
I love that concept because not all social time is restful. Some people, some conversations, some situations are actually draining, even if they're fun.
And knowing the difference is really self-awareness, which takes time to develop.
There's also just the practice of doing less intentionally, not because you have to, but because you choose to. Saying no to things, creating white space in your schedule.
White space. I like that phrase.
Me too. Because it's not empty, it's open. And open space is where breathing happens, where thinking happens, where you come back to yourself a little.
I think one of the things that makes rest so hard for people is that in our culture, doing less can feel like falling behind, like other people are using that time to get ahead.
And maybe some of them are in the short term, but long term, the person who rests, who recovers, who maintains their energy and their clarity, that person sustains their performance over time. The person who never rests eventually burns out.
And burnout is not just tiredness, it's a real, serious condition. It can affect your physical health, your mental health, your relationships, your ability to feel motivated or feel anything at all.
And it can take a long time to recover from. Real burnout isn't fixed by one good night of sleep or a weekend away. It can take months to rebuild.
So preventing it is so much better than treating it.
Prevention means taking rest seriously now, not as a luxury, not as something you earn, as something you need, as maintenance.
Like putting oil in your car. You don't wait until the engine breaks. You do it regularly because that's what keeps things running.
That's a very good analogy, Rob.
I thought about that one for a while.
I want to ask you something a little more personal. How do you actually give yourself permission to rest? Because I think that's the real challenge. Even when people understand the logic, they still struggle with doing it.
For me, it came down to reframing it. Instead of seeing rest as doing nothing, I started seeing it as doing something necessary. I'm resting on purpose. I'm recovering intentionally. This is part of how I work well, not the opposite.
So it's not the absence of productivity, it's a form of it.
Exactly. And once I thought about it that way, the guilt started to fade. Not completely, but enough.
I think also just noticing what happens when you don't rest. Paying attention to the quality of your thinking when you're exhausted, the kinds of decisions you make, how you speak to people, how creative or flat your ideas feel.
It becomes obvious pretty fast.
And then paying attention to how you feel and how you work after real rest. The contrast is the evidence. You don't have to believe any study, just pay attention to yourself.
I think a lot of us are not very good at paying attention to ourselves. We pay attention to our tasks, our deadlines, our obligations, but not to our inner state, our energy, our needs.
Which is exactly the skill that rest helps you build. Because when you slow down, you start to hear things about yourself that you miss when you're always moving.
That's almost a bit philosophical.
Maybe, but I think it's true. Slowing down is actually how you figure out where you want to go. When you're always rushing, you're just following momentum. You're not choosing.
That's a good way to put it.
And I think this connects back to hustle culture in an interesting way. A lot of hustle culture is about speed. Do more, faster, now. But speed without direction is just chaos. And rest, quiet, reflection, those things help you get clear on your direction.
So you might actually get further, faster, by slowing down strategically.
Exactly. It's counterintuitive, but it keeps showing up in the research and in the experience of people who work really well for a long time.
Okay, before we move to vocabulary, I want to ask our listeners something, and I want you to really sit with this question, not just hear it and move on.
When was the last time you truly rested without feeling guilty? Not just stopped working, but actually rested, felt okay about it. Let yourself be still.
Gently, if you can't remember, that's okay. That's actually really useful information about yourself.
And maybe this episode is a small permission slip, a reminder that rest is not a reward, it's a right.
Okay, let's come back to our question from earlier. We asked, according to research on rest and productivity, which of the following is true? A, working longer hours always leads to better results. B, the brain continues to work creatively during rest and sleep. C, taking breaks makes you less focused and more distracted. D, rest is only useful when you are physically tired.
And the correct answer is B. The brain continues to work creatively during rest and sleep.
As we talked about, the default mode network is highly active during rest. It's processing, connecting, solving. Rest is not the absence of brain activity. It's a different and often deeply important kind of brain activity.
Options A, C, and D are all myths that hustle culture tends to promote, and research really does not support any of them.
Great. Now let's move to our vocabulary section.
This is for all of our English learners who are still with us. Thank you for staying. You're going to learn some really useful words today.
These words are related to rest, productivity, and mental health. They're words you can use in real life, in conversations, in writing, and in understanding things you read or hear.
Let's start with the first one.
Word number 1, burnout. B-U-R-N-O-U-T.
Burnout is a state of deep exhaustion caused by too much stress over a long period of time. It's not just being tired, it's feeling completely empty, unmotivated, and unable to function the way you normally would.
People who experience burnout often say they feel like they have nothing left to give, like a candle that is completely burned out. Nothing left.
Example sentence. After working without rest for 6 months, she finally collapsed from burnout and needed weeks to recover.
Burnout. You'll hear this word a lot in conversations about work, mental health, and modern life.
Word number 2, recharge.
To recharge. R-E-C-H-A-R-G-E.
To recharge means to restore your energy after it has been used up, like charging a phone battery. You use it, it gets low, you plug it in, and it fills back up.
We say people recharge when they rest, sleep, do things they enjoy, or spend time in ways that fill them with energy instead of draining it.
Example sentence. He spent the weekend in nature to recharge before the busy week ahead.
Recharge. A very useful and natural-sounding word in everyday English.
Word number 3, overwhelmed.
Overwhelmed. O-V-E-R-W-H-E-L-M-E-D.
To feel overwhelmed means to feel like there's too much happening at once. Too many tasks, too many emotions, too much pressure. More than you can handle or process comfortably.
It's that feeling when everything piles up and you don't know where to start, or you feel like you might break under the weight of it all.
Example sentence. She felt completely overwhelmed by her to-do list and couldn't concentrate on anything.
Overwhelmed. Very common in both formal and informal English.
Word number 4, sustainable.
Sustainable. S-U-S-T-A-I-N-A-B-L-E.
Sustainable means something that can continue over a long period of time without causing damage or running out. You hear this word used for the environment, but in the context of work and productivity, it means a pace or a habit that you can maintain without breaking down.
So, a sustainable work schedule is one you can follow week after week without getting sick, burned out, or resentful.
Example sentence. It's important to build a sustainable routine, not one that exhausts you after 2 weeks.
Sustainable. One of those words that is incredibly useful across many topics.
Word number 5, prioritize.
Prioritize. P-R-I-O-R-I-T-I-Z-E.
Prioritize means to decide what is most important and focus your attention or energy on that first. When you prioritize, you are not trying to do everything, you are choosing what matters most.
This is deeply connected to rest, because rest requires you to prioritize your well-being, to say this matters enough to protect.
Example sentence. She had to learn to prioritize sleep instead of always answering late-night emails.
Prioritize. A very powerful word in conversations about time management, productivity, and self-care.
Word number 6, intentional.
Intentional. I-N-T-E-N-T-I-O-N-A-L.
Intentional means done on purpose, with awareness and conscious choice, not by accident, not by habit, not without thinking. When you do something intentionally, you have decided to do it, and you understand why.
In the context of rest, being intentional means choosing to rest on purpose, not waiting until you collapse, but actively creating space for it.
Example sentence. He became more intentional about his evenings, protecting time for quiet instead of always being productive.
Intentional. A beautiful word because it gives agency back to the person. It says, this is a choice I'm making.
And our 7th and final word today, threshold.
Threshold. T-H-R-E-S-H-O-L-D.
A threshold is a point or level at which something changes or begins to happen. In everyday use, it often means the limit of what someone can handle before something breaks or shifts.
In conversations about stress and rest, people talk about reaching their threshold, the point at which they can no longer function well, the point at which the pressure becomes too much.
Example sentence. He didn't realize he had reached his threshold until he started making serious mistakes at work.
Threshold. Less common but really precise and impressive when you use it correctly.
So our vocabulary words today were burnout, recharge, overwhelmed, sustainable, prioritize, intentional, and threshold.
All of them connected to this idea that how we manage our energy, our rest, and our attention is one of the most important skills we can develop.
And we hope that after today, you think about rest just a little differently, not as time lost, but as time invested.
You are not a machine. You are a person, and people need rest, not occasionally, regularly, deeply, unapologetically.
Give yourself permission to stop sometimes, not because you've earned it, but because you need it, and because the best version of you comes from a rested place, not an exhausted one.
Thank you so much for listening today. If you found this helpful, share it with someone who never stops working and needs to hear this.
Download the free PDF in the description, practice the vocabulary, take the quizzes, and if you can, go take a real break today. A real one.
Until next time, take care of yourselves.
This is English in Minutes. We'll see you soon.